like to welcome to the show a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Giles Lavery of Alcatrazz. What's going on, Giles?
Doing good, man. Not a lot. Just been writing and recording today for a couple of things, and got this great interview. I'm happy to chat with you, man. Been looking forward to this all day, and then after that, I'm going to go grab some dinner.
Now, you've been involved with Alcatrazz for a long time.
Yeah, it goes back a
And
long time,
like
actually.
co-producing and songwriting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now as the lead vocalist, can you talk about the transition from behind the scenes, moving up?
Yeah, I mean, it all started when I mean, there's a, it's a bit of a huge, convoluted, and quite bizarre story, to be honest. But I started off managing Graham Bonnet as his manager in 2014, and that lasted until 2020. Now, I don't want to get into all the gory details,
Right.
but we did not end on good terms. Let's just put it that way. Not so much because of him, but just because of his freaking loony girlfriend. I mean, if you don't mind me saying, there's a Yoko in every story, I guess.
Yeah.
But no love lost there with her. I don't hold anything against Graham. That's I can accept him for who he is and who he isn't and all that. But nevertheless, I think it was 2014 I started managing Graham, and along the way, I think it was 2016 Jimmy Waldo. At that point, there was no Alcatrazz. So in 2016, Jimmy Waldo, formerly of Alcatrazz, was invited to join Graham's solo band. It was an idea that Graham was very on board with, and I was too. And Jimmy played keyboards on and wrote and, co-produced and pretty much did everything,
Right.
along with Mark Zonder on the album The Book, the first one, and the guitar player at the time, Conrad, who the three of them were kind of the engine room between the whole record. Graham needed a lot of poking and prodding to get him to kind of show up and deliver. That's kind of the story of his life. Hey, it's worked for him,
Right.
but not everyone wakes up full of energy every day. I accept that. Some
Right.
people, it takes them, they need to kind of have a bit of breathing room between songs and just let things develop at a pace that's much more, in line with their being, which is fine. It just doesn't often jive with record company deadlines and the real world and the real realities of the business, especially when you've got, the types of budgets over the last sort of 15, 20 years that are not like what they were.
Right.
So that's all fine. Part of that time period was a reunion of the three founding members of Alcatrazz, Gary Shea, Jimmy Waldo, and Graham Bonnet, for a tour of Japan in 2017.
Right.
Which led ultimately to, eventually in 2019, the decision to do an Alcatrazz record and bring in that type of guitar player, obviously like a real, shredder kind of guy, which is Joe Stump.
Oh, absolutely. I've actually seen Joe play, and that man is
Right.
he is not from this planet.
He's great. He's great. And that was meant to be it. I mean, Graham had parted ways with his girlfriend at the time, and we all kind of rallied around him and helped him out and got him sorted out. And he was very committed to Alcatrazz. We had a 3-album deal from a new, at the time, a new record company. And he did the record, and then basically just went back to his girlfriend and kind of just bailed on the whole band and the whole project and the label and everything, and left, didn't care about, a ton of obligations and things that he'd committed to and signed to. So he quit the band. Now, I asked Doogie White to sing because I knew Doogie. I toured with Doogie. Doogie accepted, and we did two. I was producer of the Born Innocent record, which was the album that Graham did just before he quit. The Alcatrazz record. He quit 6 weeks before it even came out, actually, which is just You just don't do that.
No,
You
you
know,
don't.
I mean, that's, you hear about how like John Waite quit Bad English on the eve of the release of their second album, and there is stories, but they're always kind of like those. Whoa, really?
Yeah.
You just don't do that. You at least wait till the end of like the cycle of the
Right.
album and the tour, and then you go, right, guys, I'm moving on. But he quit, and we got Doogie White, who subsequently came in and did the next two Alcatrazz albums. A lot of touring with Doogie, and that was great. We did some great music with Doogie, and I was a producer, and I wrote for those albums. I also wrote on the Born Innocent album because Graham was struggling to come up with material
Right.
because ultimately he's just his heart isn't really in that type of. He really does not like heavy metal. He's very good at it, and he's accepting of it as far as, okay, this is kind of what I've got to do because this is my, you can't go Cracker Barrel and just go
Right.
change everything. You know what I mean? So
Right.
he, it's a very complicated thing. He does. It's not his first love, that music. He really has. And on a bad day, he'll tell you as much as he hates it. I think he's learned in recent years that it is kind of his bread and butter, and he probably best keep his true feelings to himself.
Right.
Um, he doesn't, it's just not where he wants to be, and if he is to play hard rock, he wants it to be a little bit more and, with, different types of, influences
Right.
rather than just straight ahead, heads down kind of heavy metal. And I'm sure he'd agree with that statement. Now, so Doogie came in for two albums, and then, we were getting really busy, and Doogie was getting a lot of solo offers, and eventually the time frame just didn't really, okay, you're going to be on the road then, and they want me over here, and we've got shows here, and you've got some shows over there. So it kind of became a little bit of a scheduling issue with
Right.
Doogie, and we made great music, two great records, but it was getting more apparent that, when Doogie can go off and do his own thing and get paid quite well for it, whereas
Right.
Alcatrazz is like by the time you count in management and all that, it's like an agency, it's like a 6 or 7 way split of the money.
Right.
So as a member of Alcatrazz, you're going to make a lot less than if you're just doing your own thing with some hired guys every night,
Right.
or a kind of like a pickup band, of musicians that you work with in each territory. So it became apparent that like this was probably going to start like, we can't, Alcatraz cannot be like off the road waiting for any one individual. So
Right.
because we were getting busier and busier now, so he kind of said, look guys, I'm going to move on. I want to go back to doing my own thing, my other projects and my solo. I've had great, we're good friends. We had great time. I used to do the sound checks. I used to do like whenever, even when Graham, he wouldn't be
Right.
at a sound check, or Doogie wouldn't be at a sound check. I'd get up and do the sound checks because I've been a singer for a long time. I had
Right.
Dragonsclaw 10 years before that, etc., etc. And so the plan was to get another singer, and then Jimmy and Joe came to me and just said, "Well, what about you? You sing, and to be honest, you're kind of
Right.
when you do these sound checks, it's all there, and it's if not better." And I was like, "You kidding me, really?" And they're like, "Well, I'm telling you, man, you're scaring people. It's really good."
Right.
And I went, damn, okay. I took it as a compliment, and that led to, I said, well, let's do a tour. Let's do the American tour and see how we go. If my voice is gone after 4 days, we'll know that, it wasn't. It went
Right.
really well. Um, I hadn't been on stage in a while. Like I hadn't done touring because I've been managing and running my companies.
Right.
So I hadn't been on stage for a while. It took me a few gigs to kind of get my stage legs, in my opinion.
Right.
Others have told me that it was fine and good, but yeah, for me, I felt like it took me a few gigs to kind
Oh
of get.
yeah. It's like
Yeah,
you got to get back into that groove
but we
again.
but there was we had like 30, 40 dates, so it was
Right.
like plenty of time to kind of get back into the groove. And by the end of the tour, I was like, man, and then the Warlord thing was already happening as well.
Yeah.
At this
You.
sort of concurrent to this Alcatraz thing, the Warlord thing was happening, and we did the Free Spirit Soar album, which was
Right.
more of a studio thing. because all our touring was going to be after the Alcatrazz tour. So
Right.
that doing the Alcatrazz tour really benefited doing the Warlord shows, which were like big festivals, much
Right.
bigger festivals. So it was good to really get my stage legs back. So the Warlord thing really started popping, and we were getting festivals and offers and all kinds of stuff. And so was Alcatrazz. And then
Right.
Jack Starr called me up and said, "You want to do a record?"
Right.
And we've been talking about doing stuff for a while. So I was like, hey, I'm flavor of the month. Why not? Okay, let's do it. And and amongst, this is a very short version, but amongst all of this, the third Dragonsclaw album, we'd never really finished writing and recording it.
Right.
It had been percolating for many years. And finally late last year in December, I took 3 weeks off. And of course, because I needed it. And then
Right.
after 4 days, I was bored. So I called up Ben, the guitar player
Right.
of Alcatraz, of Dragonsclaw, Ben, the guitar player of Dragonsclaw, and I said, "Let's finish this third album." And he was kind of like, "You for real this time?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's finish it." And we had it wrapped up inside of about a month.
Right.
And it was like, man, why didn't we do this? It turned out I'm so happy with the way that record turned out. I'm like, why did we wait so long?
Oh,
It
no.
just took me. I'm very grateful, and I feel very blessed that I always wanted to come back to singing, but I
Right.
never knew that I'd come back in this way with this
Right.
much kind of behind me.
Right.
So it's been great.
Yeah, because you got Dragonsclaw, you got Alcatrazz, you got Warlord, Jack Starr. I mean, you're a busy man.
Oh yeah,
And
oh yeah.
I got to admit, that new Dragonsclaw album is, I think, awesome. Along with the
Well, thank you.
Warlord, you guys just released what? Lost Archangel.
Well, yeah, that was like a collection of. I mean, we did an album last year called Free Spirit Soar,
Right.
and then we did 4 bonus tracks that were downloads only that we gave away on the day of each major festival we played over the summer
Oh,
season.
okay.
So we'd do like Metal Italia in Italy,
Right.
and obviously, and so that day we published a free download single, and of course there was 4 of them.
Right.
Lost Archangel, Stygian Passage, The Rainbow, and Lost Archangel, Stygian Passage, The Rainbow, and Golgotha.
Yeah.
So inevitably people said, well, can we buy these physically? And the plan never was to put them out physically. They were just free downloads.
Right.
But people said, well, you're going to put them on an EP or something. And we'd already put out Free Spirit Soar, and then
Right.
we'd also put out kind of like the Rising Out of the Ashes album, kind of partially re-recorded with me on vocals, and
Right.
it was just a thing that we wanted to do. So to have like a third product was kind of like, boy, I mean, Warlord's done nothing in 10 years, and now we're coming out with 3 releases in a year. But then I thought, you know what? Go back to the early 80s, and bands were putting out
Right.
songs on soundtrack albums. They were putting out 2 records in a year, and then the next year they had a live EP, and there
Right.
was, Slayer did like Show No Mercy, Live Undead, and Hell Awaits all in about 18 months, I
Yeah.
think. So I just thought, why not? And we
Right.
did get a little bit of like, whoa, another record, but um we also loaded it up with bonus tracks, so it's not really an EP. It's like a double album now. So we found some live stuff in the archives, some live
Right.
stuff from last year. We re-recorded a couple of older Warlord tracks. Just why not? Just so that
Right.
people can hear the new lineup. Well, not the new lineup. I've been in part of Warlord for 12,
Right.
13 years, but the current lineup kind of doing them, and that's kind of where we're at. That's a really like long answer to a short question, but
That's okay.
that brings you up to date, man.
So what? There's a new Alcatrazz coming, and there's
Yeah,
actually 2 new albums coming.
here we go again.
One is a re-recorded collection of old stuff that you're
Yeah,
on
yep.
with Joe Stump and Gary Shea and Waldo.
Jimmy and all that. Yeah, the 2 originals, Jimmy and Gary, and then Joe Stumps. He's been in the band. He's been in the band since 2019, so he's been in the
Right.
band pushing 7 years, six and a half, 7 years now.
Right.
That's the longest time any guitar player has ever been in Alcatraz. So he almost feels like an original now. He's certainly, you know,
Right.
since the band reactivated, he's been the only guitar player. So
Right.
yeah, and so the re-recordings is basically, you know, when you're touring, I'm the new vocalist, and you're touring with a lineup that's, like every freaking legacy band that's out there
Right.
right now. It
Right.
doesn't matter if it's Styx or Queensryche or whatever. You've got the catalog out there on the merch table, and people pick it up and they go, "Is that the guy up there, or is the guy up there on this?"
Right.
No, that's
Right.
the old singer, and this is the old album, and it's a lot. Journey would have the same issue, and
Right.
so I we discussed it with the band about we recut like a greatest hits disc with me on vocals, and it was a lot of fun. It was a challenge, I'll tell you that much. It was a challenge because you're always behind the eight ball when you're recutting someone else's
Right.
stuff. But I think the versions turned out really strong. They also serve another purpose. They show you the band, like if you're booking the band, if you're a
Right.
promoter, you're booking the band, you don't have to look further than that disc or
Right.
those. You call it up on Spotify or whatever. We put out some singles. You can hear that the new band can, deliver
Yeah.
the goods and do the business, and then it's not some sort of hodgepodge version of the band. It's the real deal,
Right.
and here's what they sound like. And so it also gives it gives the current lineup something to lean on again,
Right.
which was a similar reason as why we did it with Warlord.
Well,
Because we're touring this year, we needed a product. We're still writing for the next proper studio album, which won't be out till kind of late next year.
right.
Yep.
I mean, I've heard Jet to Jet, and
Yep.
Jet to Jet's one of them. There was another one too that was released.
There's Island in the Sun, and then
Oh
we've got
yeah.
another one coming out called Hiroshima Mon Amour.
Right.
These are all well known songs to Alcatraz fans. These are just
Uh-huh.
2025
Right.
versions.
And I think it's an amazing mix between you, Joe, and the rest of the guys. I mean, I think it sounds fantastic.
Well, thank you.
I mean,
It's
I
nice of you to
like
say. I mean, again, when you're on the inside and you're doing your best you can, and
right.
you're always going, "Is this good or not? Is this?" You don't
Yeah.
really. You're on the inside. You're too close to it, and sometimes you go back years later and you listen to something and go, "Wow, we did really good on that one." Or you can listen back years later and go, "We should have put a little bit more time into that." It can go both ways.
Yeah, it happens.
You know. But that's just life, and that's like anything. But no, as of right now, I'm very happy with these re-recordings, and
Oh yeah.
very honored, honestly honored to be doing them and to play with, Joe and the two original guys, Alcatraz.
Right.
It's really cool.
So what can we expect for that new Alcatraz album?
Heavy metal,
Great.
big hooks, big melodies. We've always been a melodic band. Probably dialing back a little bit of the power metal influence on the last two records. We're probably going a little bit more kind
Right.
of traditional heavy metal, a little less of that double kick thing.
Right.
Because I think we did that quite a bit on the last two records. Some people loved it. Some people were like, it's too much. It wasn't all like that, but there was a
Right.
couple. You have like two songs like that, and people think the whole. Then it kind of makes the whole album seem like it's like that. It's
Right.
like a little bit of that goes a really long way.
Right.
So we'll probably have like one or two fast ones, a lot of up tempo ones, and some more epic ones. It's going to be very traditional heavy metal in that, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Saxon,
Right.
Alcatraz kind of vein.
Well, I've noticed too, like a lot of upcoming bands are going back to that traditional
Yeah,
style.
yeah. I remember about 15 years ago, you could really only find traditional metal in the power metal genre.
Right.
So it was always through that power metal filter of very fast songs, and I love that stuff. Halloween, in my opinion, sort of took it to that next level, which became power metal.
Right.
And then, but even some of the power metal bands have kind of dialed it back a bit now and writing slower, more melodic songs. Because
Yeah.
I guess there's only so much you can do with super fast all the time, Dragon Force, that band Dragon Force were also like that. So, and again, I love that stuff. But even Dragonsclaw, my band, we the third album is a lot less of that. It's
Right.
more like a Judas Priest Defenders of the Faith type of record, without comparing to, obviously that's a classic. I'm not saying we're like, as good as that, but that
Right.
in that style.
Very cool. Very cool. Looking forward to hearing that one then. So you've also worked in the business side of music,
Yeah.
including like Brave Words and stuff like
Yes.
that.
Absolutely.
Has the experience given you a different perspective
It
on
has, in the
being a
sense that,
musician?
I mean, I run a management company. I manage Girls School, Raven, Onslaught, obviously the bands I'm in, Warlord, Alcatrazz. I'm sitting at both sides of the table on those bands.
Good old
As far as
Nige
being
Rock.
being in them and managing them, and Nige is great. Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
Onslaught. Um, so I see things from a management perspective. I see things from the artist perspective, and being a partner in the label, I also see things from a label perspective. So what it does is really just gets me in a whole lot of trouble because I can't ever take 100% of,
Right.
like if I feel like a band is being slightly, one of the bands I represent or bands I'm working with, and it happens all the time because everyone's got their own perspective, and
Right.
that's good.
Right.
But I can give them the other perspective of, okay, well, I know as a label these certain things are challenging right now, so we need to be a little bit more flexible. And sometimes bands don't want to hear that, but I
Right.
do think that's what makes a good manager. Whereas if you can give wisdom and information based on real, actual, legitimate experience on the other side of the table. Like, if a band is being highly critical of their label, they may have some valid points, but then I also may be able to say, okay, but I know as a label, these challenges are out there with distributors or
Right.
whatever labels have to navigate. And I can say, I think we need to kind of meet them halfway on this point, and then maybe not on another point. So
Right.
it allows me to not just be like a yes man to an artist if I'm their manager,
Right.
and vice versa. As a person who co-runs a label, I can also tell them what artists care about and what artists need, and here's where we have to be flexible to the artist because that's what's important.
Right.
And then as a manager, I can kind of, the skill set there is just monitoring all the moving parts and making sure they're kind of all running, booking agent, promoter, record label, internal band stuff,
Right.
equipment hire, t-shirt merchandising is all kind of running to its optimal capacity.
Right.
So yeah, it's you sort of stop at a certain point and you go, wow, I actually know stuff. Wow. because every day is a learning curve every
Right.
day. There's always something you didn't think of that happens.
Right.
And as you get a few years behind you, you start going, damn, I actually know stuff. Wow. Who would have thought?
Right. Exactly. All right, Giles. I got a couple more questions for you, real quick, and I'll
Yeah.
let you go. Um, what What's a piece of advice you could give to a young musician that's like up and coming?
The same advice I always say is songs. Work on your songs. Make sure your songs are the best they can be. Make sure there's memorable hooks. I mean, unless you're a grindcore band or some very avant-garde project, then that's kind of its own thing. And that's cool. But ultimately, but even then, it's the songs. It's got to be, just make sure your song craft is the best it can be. And don't be afraid to collaborate with other writers if that's what it takes to get a good song
Right.
uh, in your, canon, on your record, on your EP or your
Right.
single. Um, just focus on songs. I
Right.
mean, song to me, the writing and the songs is even more important than the performance
Right.
because there's a lot of classic songs of all time where the performers themselves were not, you know, virtuosos. Some of them could barely play, but some of these songs are the greatest, well-known hits of all time. So, songcraft is always the most important thing.
Right. Looking forward to the new albums coming out. The re-recorded, was it called? Prior Convictions.
Prior Convictions out now. Also, is the Dragonsclaw Moving Target
Yeah.
album, and we've got a Warlord Lost Archangel, Warlord Free Spirit Soar, Warlord From the Ashes to the Archives. We've had 3 releases within a 2-year period.
Wow.
And yeah, the Jack Starr album, Out of the Darkness Part 2. So if you're asking me to tell people what I got out there right now, that's
Right.
it's a lot of stuff to catch up on.
That's a lot of singing, buddy.
Oh boy, tell you about it. Yeah, it's a lot of
I
singing.
mean, how do you I mean, singing so much, how do you keep your voice in such
I don't
condition?
smoke. I don't smoke, which is number one. I very seldom touch alcohol, which if you're singing after you've had like 5 or 6 beers, you'll rip your voice to shreds because you'll
Right.
be oversinging and pushing and um without control, you know. I'm not like super Mr. Healthy. I
Right.
just I don't know. One day it might just stop working. So you know,
Oh,
I'm making good use of it while I got it. But I'm sensible. I don't. I try not to like on tour. I try not to talk too much, and I certainly try not to raise my voice.
right.
Because your voice will let you down if you don't shut up all day and then you try and sing and you're like, you know,
Right.
or the next day and you got a show. But just common sense.
Right.
Wash your hands a lot. Use hand sanitizer. If someone else is coughing and spluttering, ask them to wear a mask or put one on yourself. Even though I hate those damn things, but I mean on the road when you're in close proximity and you just got to be sensible. And in general, just eat well. I mean, your voice is a reflection of your health, really. If you're unhealthy, you're not going to have a great voice,
Right.
generally speaking. There are a few kind of freaks of nature that just kind of guys and girls that just kind of sound awesome regardless of what's going on. But
Right.
generally speaking, it's all the usual stuff. Eat well, get loads of sleep.
Yeah.
You're gonna, the more sleep you get, the better your voice is going to be.
Right.
It's just a fact.
All right, Giles. Hey, thanks for taking the time out to come on the show. Greatly appreciate it.
Hey, likewise, man.
Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to the rest of them albums, and we'll keep pushing it
Yep.
here at Metal Shop 101. And
Thank you so much for the support, brother.
oh, no problem, bud.
All right.
All right.
You take care.
All right.
Okay.